And a payroll program is surprisingly complicated. There's all these taxes and reports and things at the state level and federal level. Anyway, they said, well, if you could write one of those, we'd at least give you free computer time. And so I negotiated that deal. And the two older members, Paul Allen and Rick, said, well, there's not enough work to go around, so we're going to take charge of this. And I said, okay, I'm not that interested, because I had in mind how I wanted to do the payroll program. And so they messed around for about 3 months, didn't get much done, and then said, well, you join back up. And I said, okay, but if so, I'm in charge of this, and it's going to kind of set a precedent for future activities. But they said, no, that's fine. And so we actually finished this payroll program. It was a lot of work. The friend who was my age, Kent Evans, and I ended up doing the lion's share of the work. Now, tragically, right as he and I finished that, he was killed in a mountain climbing accident. And so then there were just 3 of us left who'd been extremely involved, including Paul Allen, who was the one who was reading the magazines even more than I was. And he was the one who actually saw this computer on a chip, so-called microprocessor, in a very small, obscure article. But he saw that it would be deeply important and brought that to me in 1971. So we were still 15. I was 15, and he was 17 at the time. So these CQ people have this computer, which is a time-sharing computer, and they're letting us come in at night. And they had this deal with the company who made the computer, Digital Equipment Corporation, that they had this acceptance period. If they could find problems with it, they could delay their rental payments. And so they thought of us as kind of monkeys that might find some problems and help them delay their rental payments. Well, that was a fair analysis, because at first we were just completely goofing around. Like, we'd try to run hundreds of jobs at the same time, or have all the jobs try and grab the same resources to see if we could get the system to fail. And we did, in kind of this brute force approach. And so they would report that as a problem and delay their rental payment. Well, as a few months went by, actually about 4 months by the end of it, we had gotten very sophisticated. In fact, we'd gotten the source code of the operating system out of the garbage can, and we're reading it. And the kind of problems we were finding were far more subtle. In fact, we'd not only find the problem, we'd look and we'd suggest how they might fix it. Well, anyway, Digital Equipment got so tired of this, they said, look, you got to pay. You're going to be able to find problems, these kinds of problems forever, but we need to get paid. And so then there was a question whether they would let us stay there or not. And it was pretty tenuous. And so Paul and I, we understood the system well enough that we could look at all the passwords of the various accounts. And so, we could use literally any account. And then people, when they found out we'd done that, they got kind of mad about that. They weren't sure how mad they should be about it, because we hadn't really caused any damage. But, it wasn't a good thing. Computer hacking was literally just being invented at the time. And so fortunately, we got off with a bit of a warning. But there actually was a period that, because of that, they said we weren't supposed to use the computer. And it was over a summer. And Paul actually went up to the University of Washington and found ways to use the computer and get connected up. And he took a while before on. I was really quite serious about math at the time and various science things. Paul had actually read more science fiction than I had by a lot. And so he and I would talk about that. But I had plenty of things. It wasn't some great tragedy. But then we got, pulled back in. Then that company went bankrupt. And then we had the work for this Portland company on the payroll program, and then we had the scheduling program. And so, we were lucky. There were always kind of things that not only gave us an opportunity, but exposed us to that next level. After the payroll program, then there was a computer project to use computers to control all the electricity grid in the dams of the Pacific